Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Wednesday, the 16th of July, 2025. And it is, of course, time for episode 61 of Mullinger's Less Than Weekly Ramble. I know that the episodes haven't been as regular or as, well, we all must stay regular, but it is not, it's summertime, right? So we're doing this a little bit differently. The episodes right now are fortnightly, as we call it in England, or bi-weekly, as you call it in Canada. Although bi-weekly, I understand, can refer to both a thing that is every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, and also twice a week. How insanely confusing is that, to have a word with two completely different meanings, especially when it relates to time? You do a very similar thing with your dates, where, for example, if you were doing the 11th of March 1978, in England, that is always 11 / or what you would say hyphen 3/78. Obviously, in America, it's the other way around. They do the month first, then the date, then the year. In Canada, you just do both. So basically, we're all confused all the time, every time we get any document that has a date on it. It's an amazing thing. We do love being confused in this country, don't we? What's another example? Well, the spellings. The spellings is another perfect example, where obviously there's English spellings of things that you would be aware of. For example, neighbour, Neighbour. And obviously in America, it's Neighbor, right? That's a given. I'm sure everyone knows that. In Canada, we adopt the, I believe, English spelling for neighbour, but other words like, I could be wrong here, like centre. I think here we go for CENTER, theatre, THEATER. Or in many cases, we actually just use both. What's another example? I should do research. We should all do research before coming on a podcast to ramble for an hour. Colour, favour. Basically, neither is right nor wrong. So I mean, how do English teachers cope with teaching this to kids? Anyway, we keep things confusing. Anyway, obviously I'm rambling. I've missed you. I've been away for 2 weeks. I was actually incredible. I was off the grid, if you can believe that. I say off the grid, in a beautiful resort on Prince Edward Island. What I mean by off the grid is I deleted social media apps from my phone. Now, I actually think, I'm proud of this, but it's also very embarrassing that I even need to fess up. I'm proud that I did a week off the socials, many other holidays and / creative retreats. And by that, I mean occasions when I have massive deadlines and need to finish a book or an article or something. I have sworn to myself, or indeed am feeling, to be perfectly honest, clinically depressed. When I've been going through any of those things, I'll often say to myself, you need to get yourself off the socials, shut it down, put on the out of office even, ignore the emails, and just focus on the job at hand, as it may be, or the family at hand, as it may be, or the not wanting to end it all, as it may be. Those are the 3 times, really, that one should be getting themselves off the bloody socials. You got to get something done, get off the socials. You got quality time with your fam, get off the socials. Feeling like life's not worth living, get off the dang socials. Take my word for it. Those 3, there you go. If you take nothing else away from this podcast, 3 minutes in, there's my rule for life. If any of those 3 things are happening, get off the socials. So, I had some very important final chapters for my book to complete. Ones that essentially, my second book is about late in life ADHD diagnosis. Those of you listening for the first time, you might not be surprised to hear I have ADHD. Welcome to the podcast, which incidentally, by the way, I'm supposed to say this a lot earlier, is sponsored by and presented by and brought to you by Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. Well, even though it's not weekly right now, it's bi-weekly, depending on where you're from. Bi-weekly means, but you get the gist. I'll do this professionally. We don't edit this. See, we've got sponsors. Not only do we have a sponsor, we kept a sponsor. That's right. We had the same sponsor as last time. That's amazing. Let's hope we can see if we can keep them for the third one. Right, let's see if I can do this properly. Right, but I mean, we got a sponsor. We still not professional enough to edit this thing. Okay, here we go. Mullinger's Weekly Ramble is brought to you by The Lighting Lounge, 52D Mar Road in Rothesay, New Brunswick, E2E 3K6. Go and visit Serge and Tiffany at The Lighting Lounge. And I'm not just saying this because they're the sponsor. I was there today. You know, some of those people bullshit. They say, you see Tony Hinchcliffe on Kill Tony. He'll be like, yeah, sponsored by, this erectile dysfunction cream and this dildo company. And I have this dildo in me right now and I'm using this erectile, all that nonsense that that's not true. But I'm saying that I've not obviously done anything, inappropriate with a light bulb. What I am saying is, this is not what people have in mind, I think, when they sponsor a podcast. Let's do this professionally. My point is this. I actually was in the Lighting Lounge today. Earlier today, I was in the Lighting Lounge, went to visit Serge and Tiffany. And may I just say that, so the Lighting Lounge on the Mile Road in Rothesay is incidentally where the old lighting shop used to be. I should point out, the old lighting shop, many of you will know the name. I didn't want to say it because they are still in business. I think I can say it. Light It Up by Designing is still a flourishing and thriving business in the Moncton area. I believe in Riverview. And so the incredible team of Francis and Marcel, who founded the company, they are still thriving in Riverview. But that lighting shop is now the Lighting Lounge, owned by Serge and Tiffany, in Rothesay. Same amazing service, same amazing selection. I was in there today. They've renovated, they painted it. It looks absolutely gorgeous in there. Whole new selections. Also setting up literally a lounge area, which is why I was going in to drop off some products they had ordered, namely a wonderful copies of an award-winning magazine by the name of The Maritime Edit. Anyway, point being, profesh. Mullinger's Weekly Ramble is brought to you by The Lighting Lounge. Go and check them out. Check out thelightinglounge.ca or follow them on the socials. There is a link in the description below, wherever you're listening to this on, whatever it's the Spotify's or the Apple Podcasts or the YouTubes or the BitLock. Are we on BitLock? I don't know. So I'll be telling you more about that later. But let's crack on. What was I banging on about? Yes, confusions within the Canada. There are, here's one for you, right? Okay, this is actually relates to my my weekend. By the way, I've had a wonderful couple of weeks. Thanks for asking. Went off the grid, was on Prince Edward Island. This is what I was saying about the socials. Managed to do actually 10 days. Complete the socials. Now, of course, these things are addictive. As my friend Ali Hassan pointed out, that someone had said to him on a CBC interview he was doing, whenever we feel guilty about our addictions to our phones and our socials, you've got to remember that there are, and this is obviously a fact, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of times smarter than us, being paid multiple millions and billions of dollars to come up with ways to suck us all in and keep us all hooked on these devices. So don't feel bad that you couldn't resist, right? When you think about the fact that we sympathize with any addict, especially if an addict has been lured into their chosen substance of choice, no, it's not choice, that's the point I'm making, by a pusher, we think that pusher is quite evil. When you used to watch those kids shows after school, did you have these in England? We had like shows like Grange Hill, and they would show these nasty pushers going, hey, first time's free, try the drugs. And then they would try the drugs, and then instantly, so point being, people are actively trying to make us hooked to these things. They're actively, we're all, the last couple of weeks, the amount of times I've had that scenario where I'll talk about something and then suddenly it's popping up, not just on Instagram, it's popping up on all of them. So everyone's in cahoots, all in it together. I'm sure you've heard the news that Zuckerberg obviously owns WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is now going to introduce advertising. Of course, they have always insisted that they don't read your messages, that they are completely private and encrypted. Yeah, right. And but they are going to be taking the content of our messages to determine what ads we see. We ask for ourselves, as if you can have a thing like WhatsApp and it be free. Of course, we're going to have to pay the piper sooner or later. Anyway, I took 10 days off. Obviously, it felt amazing, was amazing. Here's an interesting thing for you. People often think they've got to be on the socials to... all the things that were happening in the world, granted, we can't completely shut our eyes off to them, but I am, frankly, I was on vacation and I had work to do. So I wasn't being disrespectful to the terrors and the horrors of the world. I was busy writing and actually watching every single National Lampoon Vacation movie, which we will get to. I feel more rambly than ever. Oh, by the way, I think we landed on the decision of what you should all say to me when you see me in the shops. We are indeed the Ramblers. We are in this club together. And the fact that you've even made it this far into this episode says it all. I was going to say I'm out of practice. I possibly am. That's the point. I haven't done a gig in a couple of weeks, and I haven't. This is why this is possibly more rambly than ever. But if you see me in the streets, come up to me. Bosh is the intro. I'm a fellow rambler. I had multiple messages suggesting this, and thank you all for that. Okay, I've got so much to talk about. I'm literally flying all over the place. Confusing Canadian things. That's what I was banging on about. This is absolutely chicken oriental, right? By the way, that's a Cockney rhyming phrase that I think I've used before. Cockney rhyming slang phrase that I think I've used before on here, which might, I now realise, be racist. It definitely is racist, in fact, because it has the word oriental in it. So I apologise for that. I retract that statement, even though it's obviously, you can't retract it. You said it. This is exhausting, isn't it? Are you exhausted? It's bloody exhausting. Yeah, it's so high. As you know, I'm not going to, how great's the weather been? I'm not going to do that, but hasn't it been bloody amazing? Here's a confusing one for you. So only in Canada would we allow this. I was in Toronto at the weekend. I went to see Coldplay. I was going to open with this. I guess I kind of am. All that 10 minutes, that's all warm up, right? Innit? On the subject of warm up, they had a couple of acts opening for them who were obviously acts that they had discovered, wanted to give a platform to, which is all very commendable. However, it's arguable that you want opening acts that are kind of Oasis, for example, right now. Oasis, obviously, this week have done their first batch of comeback shows in the UK, and quite shockingly, no one expected this. The shows are absolutely phenomenal, biblical, as Liam or Noel or both would say. And by all accounts, Liam's never sounded better. The band has never been better. It's off the charts. It's basically the Eras tour for old men my age, basically. And just watching all these guys my age go, partying like it's 1995 again. I did try and get tickets last September when they went on sale. I am still, I must admit, quite tempted to find a way. After this next couple of weeks, I'm back to back with gigs. So literally, in order to make one of the Oasis shows, either in Toronto or London or Edinburgh, I'm basically going to have to get off stage in Cape Breton or Toronto or somewhere else and or Fredericton and get on a plane that night to fly to London the next day. Anyway, I'm trying to but anyway, what's my point? Oasis are playing the Rogers Stadium in Toronto. Now, for the uninitiated, here's the situation. So Saturday night I went to Coldplay. I guess this was my point about that. Sorry, one of my 16 points that are currently. Have you read this? Where someone once described ADHD as being like your brain is like a computer that has 500 browsers open and there's music playing and you can't tell where it's coming from. That's basically, I've been, as you all, regular listeners will know that I don't take the meds, obviously. And lately I have been somewhat wishing that my brain wasn't like this. But I tell you one thing that I have come to peace with in writing this book. And one realization is that I used to do this, that mantra about how, it's like my kids now, are growing up quickly and time's going fast. And I keep looking back at pictures of them like 5, 6, 7 years ago and going, oh my God, what I would do to go back to be with them for a day at that age. But then of course there's that famous classic self-helpy mantra-y thing that's far better than anything in that Mel Robbins book. But basically it's like, in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, you would pay anything and do anything to be back at this precise moment now. So why not just enjoy it now? Which is so true. And what I've realized I've gone through life a lot because of the way my brain is, because it never settles, because it's constantly flying in 500 different directions, because I don't really get to rest. Like when I wake up in the morning, just 500 thoughts are flooding in my head. And if I'm lucky, it's the ones that I joke about on stage, like that you need to go and do the laundry, do half of it, and there's the dishwasher, you need to go and organize the Tupperware containers, why won't they fit? What did the cast of Little House of the Prairie die on? Start Googling, oh my God, have I got that? That's if I'm lucky. I don't talk about this on stage so much, but it's in the book. But sometimes, obviously, the thoughts can be darker. The thoughts to me just constant reminders of all the stupid things you've done in your life, all the opportunities you've missed, this is how messed up it is. I mean, some of you, I guess some people consider me quite a busy person, juggling, doing quite a lot of things. I am perpetually angry with myself for not doing nearly enough. which is ridiculous because I'm right here sitting at my desk right now looking at the to-do list of things I have to do and should be doing right now and need to get done by tomorrow morning between getting the next issue of the magazine. I've got 6 articles to write for that. I should point out that it's been announced that the Debaters is coming back to the Maritimes. It's official. And I think I maybe hinted at it, teased at it on the show before. But it's the Debaters, CBC Debaters with Steve Patterson is coming to St. John, New Brunswick Imperial Theatre on September the 16th and Charlottetown PEI, Confederation Centre of the Arts, September 18th. I think I'm allowed to confirm now. Yes, I am on both shows. Debating, I cannot wait. I am debating with 2 of my favorite comedians anywhere in the world. And how did I get on this tangent? What was I talking about before this? But yes, anyway, I've got stuff to do for that. I'm looking at a list. There's about 24 things on the list. I'm going away for the weekend for a little bit seaside break to see some friends from England. So I've got a lot to get done. My point is that going back to I still beat myself up for not being busy enough. Anyway, these are the thoughts that go through my mind. I'm constantly beating myself up. So I sometimes wish my brain isn't like this. But what I used to do is always think, well, if you can get through this next run of 17 gigs or get this book done or get this issue of the magazine done or get this done, then after that, then you can relax. Then you can beat your feet up. Then you can not worry about anything. I think what I've now come to terms with is that I will never be able to relax. My brain will never shut off. This isn't a cure of ADHD and indeed any other neurodiverse condition is not turn-offable. And I should point out, if anyone's looking for an amazing book on this subject to read while you wait for mine, Shappi Khorsandi wrote a great book called Scatterbrain that is phenomenal. But and I think I mentioned that on the podcast before. I'm listening to this book by a brilliant comedian, British comedian, Pierre Norville. Pierre Norville, he's written a book called Why Can't I Just Enjoy Things, which is such a brilliant title. Because really, if you've ever had that thought, why can't I just enjoy it? Why can't I be at the Coldplay concert on Saturday night and be getting into it? Without and again, fine, you have a couple of drinks, you can, why can't I stand in a nice environment with friends, for example, sitting around the table with friends without thinking, everyone thinks you're a dick, James. Every that thing you just said, you shouldn't have said that. Why didn't you say this? Oh, you shouldn't have said that. That's an overshare, mate. Everyone thinks you're an absolute bellend, James. Why can't I sit around a table with the people I love and not be worrying about that? I've just realised, I've always thought his name was Pierre. It looks like it's actually spelled Pierre Novelli. I've misread. This is one of those weird things with the eyes. I've always read his name Pierre Novelle, but it's Pierre, Novellie. I look forward to everyone messaging me to correct this pronunciation. If you think if Pierre happens to listen to this, I profoundly apologize. Speak to the Kotsabaskis family, who have had to put up with me butchering their surname over about 500 episodes of this show. Pierre Novelli is what I see. I've for years always thought it was Pierre Novelli. Anyway, this is James Mulligan of complete. I'm just messing everything up today. Pierre Novelli's book, Why Can't I Just Enjoy Things? A Comedian's Guide to Autism. It is absolutely brilliant. As he says in the book, these are not curable things. So there isn't going to be a day where I'm not completely barking mad. So what I need to do is embrace this and not think, in 2 weeks. Because what happens is you go to yourself, in 2 weeks, when you've done this run of gigs and you've written these articles and you've done all these deadlines and you've got all this and you've done this and blah, 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 then you can relax and your brain can relax. It ain't gonna. When you're like this, when you're a weekly rambler, bosh, this doesn't get turned off. So, learn to live with it. There you go. That's helpful. That's helpful advice. That is, do you reckon I could sell as many books as Mel Robbins if that was my... Learn to live with it. The new self-help book from James Mullinger. Fucking get on with it, mate. What you want? That'd be a good name for a self-help. But what you whining about? It's the way you were born, isn't it, mate? Learn to live with it. A self-help guide to living. It's furniture. Okay, this podcast is brought to you by the Lighting Lounge. Moving on. My point is this. Sorry, 20 minutes. Like as I was going with, I went to see Coldplay on Saturday night, is the point. And phenomenal, by the way. Chris Martin puts on a great show. Incredible, diverse audience of ages. At one point he shouts, they play a song from their first album, not Yellow, they play that, but they play the first song of the first album, Where It All Began, and he goes, can everyone who's under 25 shout out? And the sound was deafening, and I wasn't seeing that age bracket around me. There was people in front of me in their 70s and 80s with the old headphones on, protecting their ears. There was someone there with a 2-year-old baby. I've rarely been to a gig with, like, as we know, I mean, my audience tends to hinge on the older side, and God bless you all. Thank you very much. I know you're all listening. But yeah, under 25, it was surprising. And he says, this one's for you. This is where it all began. You know, they obviously met in. Do you all know this about Coldplay? The reason they've stayed together so peacefully for so long, obviously, A, is that they're obviously lovely gentlemen, and B, Chris. I will say that what's interesting with the show is the songs they obviously have even if you're one of those people that's a bit cynical about Coldplay because it's not cool and they're not trendy and the songs are it's a bit David Gray, it's a bit Dido, it's a bit James Blunt, it's a bit generic, it's a bit blah, right? If you're one of those wankers, I would just say it's just it's back to back banging songs. B, the show they put on is phenomenal. Yes, maybe some people don't like Chris Martin's Love Each Other, Love the World, I Love Everyone. And at times it does resemble a keynote speech. I mean, I'm not easily manipulated. I was uplifted. I was inspired. He is kind of putting keynote inspirational messaging into stadium rock, which is fascinating. Even at one point, going so far. So basically, I don't know if you know this about the shit show that is the Rogers Stadium in Toronto. So just to clarify, some of you may know this, some of you may not. You will know that there is a Rogers Stadium already in Toronto. It's the Blue Jay Stadium. It's a stadium. It's called the Rogers Centre. It's where Taylor Swift played. It's where Kendrick Lamar and SZA played. See, I pronounced it right because I'm down with the kids. And I can attract under 25s to shows, not to parties, obviously. Inappropriate. And that's where they all played. Now, the Blue Jay Stadium is a lovely stadium in downtown Toronto, right? But I'll tell you why. Coldplay, I was going to say for reasons, but I'll just tell you the reasons. Live Nation, the obviously brilliant, but also obviously, I don't think they would be annoyed at me calling them a ruthless, let's not say ruthless, let's say actively entrepreneurial and what's the word when someone doesn't want to take no for an answer and they just want a rapist, I suppose. No, sorry, that's not funny, obviously. I wasn't kind of implying. What I'm getting at is what someone doesn't want to take no for an answer. I mean, in a professional business context, i.e., tries to be proactive to make things happen, not sexually, but in business. Point is, Coldplay haven't played Toronto in 8 years. They're on this tour. Now was the time that they could do a Toronto show. The Blue Jays Stadium is obviously being used for Blue Jays games. So entrepreneurial, what is the word I'm looking for? See, I always think of the words after the podcast ends. It's like entrepreneurial, but it's like, it's on the tip of my tongue. That's what she said. It's on the, I don't know. Point being, you know what I'm getting at. They are, why am I still trying to think of the word when I can't think of it? The whole podcast would be me trying to think of one word. That would be like the bug episode of Breaking Bad when Jesse and Walter just chased the bug around the lab. We could have one entire episode of Mullinger's weekly ramble brought to you by the Lighting Lounge, in which I simply try and think of a word. Oh well, my point. Coldplay couldn't. You get it. The Blue Jays Stadium is in use for Blue Jays games. So if you want to do a concert there, it's got to be when they're not playing. So Live Nation had the brilliant idea to build a new stadium. So there was a stadium here. It's temporary stadium, which it really does feel bloody temporary. It's like a festival site, essentially, in Downsview Park on a disused runway. So they decide to build this stadium. cheekily, they decided to call it the Rogers Stadium. So, I mean, how much bloody money do Rogers have to basically own and sponsor these two ginormous birds? That is how much they're screwing you over. Don't get me started. I'm not going to get into all the Bell Rogers, the evilness of the hey, we're proudly Canadian, and I mean, basically every time your bill goes up and every time you get jacked more and ripped off, and you get billed for things that you didn't see, use, or want, and every time your internet's not working and they can't be bothered to come and fix it, even though they still continue to charge you through the nose. This is why they've got so much money to burn. So, but the fact that someone thought it was a good idea, now it's hard to not think that this was deliberate. A year ago, I am looking to buy my wife tickets for Coldplay for this year for her 50th birthday party. A birthday gift, birthday present. This year's her 51st. It's funny. I keep thinking about the fact that there'll be lots of jokes I can make coming this October about it'll be her 51st, so I want to get into a 51st state. I want to get into a right state, mate. I want to get in the 51st state. You get it? It's not that funny. Nothing about the 51st state is funny. So there's a Rogers. Now, of course, when I say the Rogers Centre, that's a stadium. That's the Skydome Centre to most Torontonians. Rather like the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax is still the Metrodome to most people, and like TD Station in St. John is still Harbour Station. It's where all these things, as we know, used to be. So the Rogers Stadium. So obviously last year when I'm booking these tickets, I think it just is, and it's a bloody nightmare. There's that dynamic pricing. The prices keep going up. Paid a ridiculous amount of money for the tickets. They obviously all sold out in pre-show. It's unbelievable. Like all 4 shows in Toronto sold out very, very quickly, as did the 10 nights at Wembley Stadium. Now, Wembley Stadium is significantly bigger. It's close to like 90,000 people. That means almost 1 million people bought tickets for Coldplay in the space of like 1 second. Now, I guess my point on their opening act thing is that Oasis have the Verve opening for them. Coldplay, kind of when they came out, the audience wasn't fully like ready to go. So they essentially had to do their own warm-up. But the issue with the stadium is this, and lots of this has been talked about online. You don't realize this. You basically got to walk about 2 kilometers down a disused runway and a gravel to get to the stadium. Now, obviously, I mean, if you've been to festivals, you're used to that. When we got in there, we then had to. We basically took we were told there was an address you could get an Uber driven into. But then once we realised we were stuck in gridlock traffic, we had no choice but to go back around, walk the 2K, and then once you get in, there's only entrances on one side, so you have to walk all the way around the stadium. Didn't have time to even grab a glass of wine, get to our seats, which, by the way, the bleachers are so rickety, they are shaking. It literally, I was half loving the concert and half thinking this feels like the opening of a Final Destination movie. So all of that to say, great concert. If you get a chance to see Coldplay, do it. They put on a phenomenal show. I mean, and Chris Martin, I'd say this is how much I love Coldplay, and love their music. I find some of his some of the positive messaging a bit twee. Although you could say that about my act too. I get that. Well, this is the thing: is that when I'm being positive on stage in a stand-up show, I genuinely mean all of it. I'm sure he means all of it. However, on the Monday night, he came out on stage. My friend Chuck Thompson was there, and so he'd given us the lowdown. And even with his intel, it was still very, very hard to navigate the site. Getting out at the end, there's no signs. No one knows where anyone's going. It feels like a temporary. If I genuinely illegal raves back in the 90s were better organized than this, and there's really no excuse for it. It's Live Nation, biggest event company in the world. But Chris Martin made a joke on the Monday night about thanks to all traveling out to the middle of nowhere to this weird stadium. Clearly he got picked up on it by someone and said, you can't do that. We built this stadium for you. You got to be nice. So the next day, Chris Martin comes out. Now, of course, a lot of journalists took what he said and I wouldn't say twisted it, but they definitely pull quoted that line, and the headlines became Chris Martin blasts weird shit stadium in Toronto, which he didn't say. I mean, and then they didn't misquote him as such. They just pulled the quote, made it the headline. It was clickbait, essentially. So Chris Martin comes out the next night to apologize for that, but at the same time, clearly being Mr. Nice Guy, so desperate to please everyone, doesn't want to disparage or criticize anyone. So he doesn't want to. So he's apologizing for what he said, thanking everyone for kindly building the stadium, thanking everyone involved with building it and why they built it and blah, 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 blah. But of course, he also doesn't want to upset the journalists who did these articles. So he says, and I quote, he goes, and it literally is something as mad as this. He goes, obviously, and maybe he's being sarcastic, but it doesn't strike me as a sarcastic type. He goes, obviously, I love all journalists and everyone who writes anything on the internet. Really, Chris? Really? Neo-Nazis? Like everyone that writes anything on the internet? I mean, we can be a people pleaser and say, I'm not criticizing the journalist from the Toronto Star that that took what I said, twisted it, put it in a headline, and made it sound like I was slagging this shit old stadium off. But let's not go so far as to say I love everyone who writes everything on the internet. Alex Jones, do we love him? Anyway, maybe he was being sarcastic. I don't give him enough credit. Great show. Bit of a shambolic arena, a stadium. Can't believe they have the audacity to call it. But needless to say, the Monday night, dozens, possibly hundreds of people did go to the other Rogers Stadium. This is the thing. They're both stadiums. This isn't a confusion over an arena and a stadium. It is two stadiums, both called Rogers, both with a capacity of 50 to 55,000 people, both in Toronto. One in a downtown area around lots of restaurants. This other one, the new one, the shit one, I should point out, middle of absolute nowhere. There's not even a gas station nearby. You're literally in the middle of an industrial estate. When we left, we got out, walked down the dirt road, no lights, just the occasional bored employee of Live Nation sitting on a chair looking at their phone, yawning or napping. Everyone walking in different directions. I posted this on TikTok if you want to have a look at it. Everyone walking around looking confused. We basically just walked for as long as we could until there was no longer traffic, gridlock everywhere. And then we were in the middle of an industrial estate. So we just called the Uber to come and pick us up from that address, which incidentally happened to be a mail order sex toy company, which some would say was the longest ever made up excuse for why I was calling for a ride in my Uber from a sex toy company at 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night. Sponsored by Tony Hinchcliffe, the dildo company. Well, again, going back to I would say the Coldplay, great performance, great singing, great light display. And while we're on the subject of lighting, this podcast is brought to you by The Lighting Lounge, thelightinglounge.ca. Okay, I'll go to everything else I did last week. I'll do it really quickly because basically I had 15 different things I wanted to talk about. I say next week, the last 2 weeks. So I mentioned I went to PEI to finish these chapters, very emotional chapters to write, essentially about everything I've learned about ADHD and my brain. And also, crucially, had just the most phenomenal time with the family. I mentioned each night we managed to, everyone. I obviously had all the social. Oh, this is what I was going to say about the socials. Was I deleted Instagram, Facebook, all of it from my phone for a week, and these social media experts. And I'm not. Pardon me, didn't mean to burp in your ear, except I just did. So, I'm sorry for burping in your ear. These social media experts, and as you know, I've never done a, like, oh my God, see, you know what happened then? I opened Instagram to look for something to tell you and then went down a rabbit hole instantly. What were the things? Oh, that Nate Bargatze's been nominated for 3 Emmy Awards. It's funny this time of year, isn't it? I mean, congratulations, Nate Bargatze. But it's funny all the last couple of weeks, like these people like Matt Rife and people posting like, for your consideration, Emmys, my terrible misogynistic stand-up special. It's a weird thing. Like the fact that we, and by we I mean myself and other lowly artists, all of us grinding it away on the East Coast. I know a lot of lovely comedians who I respect and love greatly also listen to this podcast. we feel embarrassed about blowing our own trumpets. We feel ashamed about I mean, this podcast, for instance, by the way, thanks for everyone who voted, but did get nominated in an award recently for excellence in New Brunswick podcasting. And I felt, I can't ask people to vote for me. Now, we did come third. So that's incredible and such a huge honor. I guess it kind of feels nicer knowing that you win that without kind of, what's the word when you're kind of pooling, schooling, coaching, not coaching people, when you're not sourcing. It's weird. I have quite a good vocabulary, by the way, when this bloody recorder isn't on. But when you're not kind of polling people, what is it? Canvassing. When you're not canvassing, when you're not begging like a dirty, filthy politician. When you're not basically begging for votes. But it's weird. We feel like, and I'm sure other comedians and artists and writers and musicians, anyone else listening to this, do you feel like embarrassed saying, will you vote for me on this? And yet meanwhile, the richest, most privileged, lucky bastards in the world don't feel ashamed remotely for posting, please vote for me, Emmys, please give me an award. $10 million wasn't enough. I want a little award, please, mummy. It's weird. Anyway, what was that? Oh, Charlie Demers, one of Canada's greatest comics. I've worked with him many times. He's got a book coming out celebrating Canada. Anyway, what I'm looking for is this. This is it. So I'll get to the point. On Instagram, I went off it for a week, 10 days. I come back, 4.3 million views in the last couple of weeks. You can go on there and see that. 4.3 million views. Now, I guess it's a combination of some funny videos, some pictures, the Mary Berg appearance. It's a combination of different things. But I can't imagine in many times about, and basically it just goes to show how much how much these evil tech, not geniuses, the evil tech, what are they? Villains, want us. I don't know if this is because I went off it and I deleted the app. So then their AI said, we need to lure this scumbag back in. While he's gone, let's make sure more people see his content. So when he comes back, he'll never leave us again. Well, bad luck, because what I've now learned is every time I turn off my socials and don't post, I get 4.3 million views on my stuff. So I don't know what my point is about this. My point is get off the socials as much as possible. It did me wonders mentally, productivity, and family. Again, the old lingo. It's okay. My PEI. I've actually got my son and I are doing. I love doing this Christmas, summertimes, doing a scrapbook / diary. I used to do it with my parents when I was a kid. So every day, write a diary, take some pictures, print them at the Staples or the Walmart, and collect tickets or postcards or receipts from where you've been that day and stick it in. So that's what she's doing. So when did I last see you all? Well, I guess it was Canada Day. I hope you all had a great Canada Day. I ended up having to have my yard sale on Canada Day because it kept raining every other day. That was a success. But then spent the afternoon watching Andre Rieu DVDs, and then at a bonfire on the beach. Sunday, the Wednesday, the 2nd of July, we went to PEI. Went to a place called where you may have seen it on the cover of the Matter Minute magazine. One of a place by the name of Black Bush. Black Bush is in Tracadie, Prince Edward Island. My son, my 14-year-old son, is, I think, trying to help me write better material. He pointed out, as we were traveling, he noticed that, so we basically our first stop was in Sussex. So he pointed out at one point that we had, and this is the road that takes you into Black Bush, by the way. So this is a geographically factual joke / statement. He said, oh, well, it's interesting that today we've come from Sussex to Sackville, and now we're taking Dickey Road to Black Bush. Nice, right? That is quality. Hats off, Hunter. Good joke. But also geographically sound. And a great big collaboration. Now, I've been to PEI 50 plus times. I'm actually back there in a couple of weeks doing a show at St George's Bay, where incidentally we went on this holiday. We took our bikes. I got a bike rack. Massive shout out to Millennium Cycles on Millennium Avenue for fitting in this bike rack, game changer. Go on holiday with your own bikes, not need to try and rent them. It basically we're a family. We're of a 50-year-old, a 47-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 11-year-old. What those four people like doing, right? The two older ones, they like the boozing, right? The younger ones, they like seeing their friends. Well, their friends aren't there. The older ones, you can't booze every day when you're my age, right? You got to get healthy, right? So what do all four of those people like doing? Cycling. So we went major mental cycling, cycled trails around Cavendish. We had bonfires on, well, not on the beach, but they have organised bonfires there. I'm just reading the thing. We biked to North Rustico, went to the old Cove Head lighthouse to have the one of the world's great. I used to say this was the world's greatest lobster roll, Richard's Lobster Roll, at Cove Head Harbour, or whatever it's called, Cove Head Harbour. Yes, there is one of the best lobster rolls in the world. It is definitely, without question, the number one, other than in my house, the number one best wine pour in the universe. I used to have a little saying when I'd be poured wine. I used to say this originally began on my friend John Scafano's stag do, where I wouldn't drink the wine unless it was pouring down the sides of the glass. Well, they do that at Richard's. It's right to the top. It's funny, isn't it? Like, I mean, I don't want to, I never want to be irresponsible joking about alcohol consumption on this, and obviously alcohol addiction is a terrible thing for many people. It's also can be a terrible thing when if one does misuse it for reasons that their neurodiverse brain isn't allowing them to relax. So this is something that I've dealt with in therapy. When I actually got my diagnosis, was one of the things that actually kind of inspired me to do it. But it's funny, isn't it? Like there's obviously alcoholics, and there's people who don't drink, and there's people that don't drink because they don't want to or don't like it, and there's people that don't drink because they can't because they're alcoholics. And then there's levels of like alcohol reliance, isn't there? And alcohol dependence. Like how many of you, you don't have a drink every day, but you do really look forward to the pint on the Friday night. Well, then you've got people like Tom Holland, Spider-Man, thinking that because he was looking forward to having a pint, that was an issue. So he gave up the booze and then launched actually a very good alcohol-free beer range, which I do like alcohol-free beer and enjoy it a lot because I do go through big spells of. But I guess my point is this. I was thinking about this when I was on the flight going to Toronto on Porter, by the way, from Fredericton Airport. Very nice, obviously, on time, everything. And hats off to Air Canada of late. All of my flights have been on time and luggage arriving safely. And I know I make jokes about people and places. So when they do great jobs, equally, like my video of me on the Gramanan ferry has now notched up something like I'm always often told by bookers across the country when I can't seem to get booked in certain places out west, like Saskatchewan, Alberta. And I get booked for corporates out there, but I can't seem to get the clubs to book me. Winnipeg being another one. Can't get booked in Winnipeg for love or money. There's a comedy club there. They're just not interested. They think I'm too niche. Like you talk too much about the East Coast, and it's like, yeah, but a video of me on the Gramanan ferry just notched up 1 million views. Surely there's a market. Anyway, even just Displaced Maritimers. That's what Joel Plaskett told me. That he basically, his first kind of 5 tours were basically performing to Maritimers across Canada who'd moved away. Interesting Gramanan story. Have you seen this? A great news story from 2015, a real beauty. I found this online. I don't know what I was searching for, but a baby girl was delivered on the Gramanan ferry. Absolutely amazing. Google it, or come and see me at the Ipside Dome next week on the Kingston Peninsula because I'm, obviously writing a joke about it. You understood that. My point is this. I've gone through various stages of hard partying in my life, stages of definitely unhealthy and unwise alcohol consumption. Right now, I'm pretty much teetotal. I'm 100% teetotal when I'm working. I rarely do drink. However, I will say this: if I am on one, right, having my couple, like the weekend, off to see Coldplay. With the wife, just the two of us, no kids. We're off to have some fun. We're meeting some friends for dinner that night. Taxis everywhere. Responsible. We're actually went for dinner at Soto, which is famously the restaurant, the famous shot of Drake in the corner of the restaurant on his album cover, holding a glass of wine. That picture was taken there. Anyway, I guess my point is this: I'm definitely not in any way a problem drinker, but I'd say there's two types of people in this world. There's more, but for the sake of this point, if I'm having a glass of wine and it's halfway down and I see the trolley cart coming to deliver top-ups, which they do on porter, there are some people that would just come and go, oh, trolley cart's coming. You know, they may as well throw in another splash. Aye, me. If I see the trolley cart's coming and I've got a glass with half a glass, I'm necking it. The whole glass is going down. That's it. Bosh, bring it on, love. Come on, love, and that could be a man. By the way, I'm not being gender specific, not implying that airline stewardess has to be a woman. A stewardess, an airline professional has to be. If someone's coming down if someone's walking down the cart, down the trolley, down the middle of what's that bloody thing called? The gangway, the aisle. And I've got a glass of wine in my hand, and they're going to top it up. Bosh, you're damn right. It's going down the hatchet. Gullet open. Bosh, bring it on. Okay, let's get to some more sensible things. I don't know why I just told you all that. It was about the richest thing. And then we actually managed to do all the things that I love to do on holidays. Took the new Julia Donaldson book to read, Gozzle, it's called, by the way. It's not as good as the Gruffalo, but it's going. That night we watched Planes, Trains and Automobiles as a family, no phones, everyone just sat and watched it. Laughed our backsides off. It is easy. There's a great documentary about John Candy coming very soon. I think I've mentioned before. I have a whole chapter about John Candy actually in my next book. I might have already mentioned this. What a movie Planes, Trains and Automobiles is. That scene with the swearing is so less. This whole movie has no swearing in it. Those aren't two pillows. The scene. Question for my 2025 enlightened audience: is it homophobic? Where's your hand between two pillows? Those ain't two pillows. Is that homophobic? No, it's not. I mean, they jump up and then they're like, oh, did you see the soccer last week? Oh, no, not soccer. They see that. Did you see Trump said that he's going to make Trump, after stealing the FIFA Cup and then pretending to be the captain of the football team, he is saying that he's going to make it an American mandate to call soccer football. Well, because that is what it's called, to be fair. But then very confusing, because obviously in England we called American football. In America, it's already called football. It's like that old joke, like what do you call Chinese food in China? Food. Is that racist? The movie that this podcast should be called that. Is that racist? Is this racist? Be a good put in for a podcast that. The whole thing just saying things, wondering if they're racist or not. Okay, speaking of racism, what do you all think of the new season of... This isn't actually necessarily connected to racism, but we will get there. The final season of Squid Game. Disappointing. Obviously, the first season was amazing. We were all swept up in it. Second season, it was like, what the hell? Obviously, the second season did benefit from the fact there were no VIPs in it. The VIPs are back. They were roundly considered the worst things about season one. And then season 3, the VIPs are back. The acting's terrible. There was a theory behind this, which is that maybe a Korean editor, which is quite a racist argument, this. They say that a Korean editor listening to people speaking in their native tongue, i.e. English, wouldn't know what the best takes were. But frankly, any actor that does any take as bad as the takes that made the final cut deserves to be shot, frankly. It deserves to be put in Squid Game. It was quite bizarre. I put on the video... I did a little video of, they also sound like AI robot voices, and I put on a little clip of that on TikTok, and everyone is commenting going, you idiot, it's dubbed, watch it in the original Korean language. I did watch it in the original Korean language. I never watch dubbed movies. I always, I'm not being a snob, like, oh, if you watch it dubbed, you're a Philistine, you're an ignoramus. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that I personally like watching original language, but of course, what these idiots that were commenting didn't realise, don't want to be rude, because like Chris Martin, I love everyone that writes everything on the internet. I mean, how funny is that? That is funny. Has anyone ever been so desperate to please people? They say, I love everyone who's ever written anything on the internet. What's my point on this? Yeah, anyway, they're all saying, you idiot, it's dubbed. Listen to it with the real. But no, it's not dubbed, because the bit where they're speaking in English is obviously in English in the Korean version. Let me know what you thought about Squid Game. It's just kind of disappointing, and the ending, and of course, it's very dark. Planes, Trains and Automobiles never gets boring. It is so interesting watching these old classic. We drove to St. Peter's Bay. We cycled past like Meister Spa to go to we went to that beautiful black and white cafe. It's called in St. Peter's Bay. I'm back there, as I mentioned. Courthouse Theatre. on the 31st of July. If you have any friends on PEI, please tell them, because as ever, it's impossible to promote there, which is ridiculous given oh my God, this was a real eye-opener. You know, a couple of years ago here in New Brunswick, they abolished all printed tourism merchandise or pamphlets or brochures or tourist guides or anything. No, there's nothing. We've got zero. We've got Malta Minute magazine, but that's not obviously that's not PEI. There is so many different tourism brochures, maps, guides. I took a picture of them. I will be posting it actually. You want to know what they're doing right and we're doing wrong. You can't, especially half of New Brunswick doesn't have bloody internet. You can't rely on the internet. It'd be one thing if they did the thing they said they were going to do, which they never actually did, which was create the perfect app. So anyway, I guess what I need to do is I need to create a New Brunswick. I need to add that to my list. I need that to, we've done a magazine, we've done a bilingual version, we've done Birds of the Spirits, we've done a book, doing another book. I'm now going to do the definitive New Brunswick tourist guide. I'm also working on a very, you have to say, big show for next year about New Brunswick. Anyway, what am I getting at? Brochures everywhere. And if people want to know what PEI do right and we do wrong, that's it. But point being, it's hard to promote there, despite the fact they do have multiple. They've got 4 different newspapers. They've got an entertainment newspaper. Anyway, the show is booked very late. Courthouse Theatre, Thursday. Do you want to know the shows quickly? Obviously, as you know, the show's coming up. Yip Cider, 24th of July. Yip Cider, 25th of July is actually sold out now. Eastport Arts Centre in Maine. I will say that show, as you know, isn't happening but will happen. I do have actually the consulate and the governor of Maine actually helping get the right things that I need in place to make these shows happen. Anyway, then the following week, Hampton Brewing Company on the 29th of July, Courthouse PEI on the 31st. Then my brother is here visiting from Kelowna, his first time in Atlantic Canada. Send suggestions for him. Back at Yip Cider on the 15th of August with an incredible lineup. It's James Mullinger and Friends. It is stand-up comedy only. Brady Mandeville, Josh Kotsabaskis. It's just an incredible lineup of amazing New Brunswick comedians. So please look into that. Then I'm in St. Andrews at the Algonquin Resort for the Egg Farmers Conference, which I cannot wait for. Big keynote speech there. Then the Cape Breton Comedy Festival for a Laugh Out Loud taping and a big gala. And then 30th of August, that's in my diary. This is somewhat my highlight of my, Andre Rieu's Maastricht shows are going on right now. And then obviously being filmed, and then it goes to the cinemas on that date. And then 6th of September, I'm at the Cow Bay Concert Series, Nova Scotia. Then I've obviously got the 2 Debaters recordings, St. John, then to Charlottetown, then from Charlottetown to Campbellton for the Campbellton Comedy Festival for the 19th and 20th. Then I'm at the Playhouse in Fredericton. And then I'm at the Cochrane Comedy Festival in Alberta. And then I've got a Moncton tour date. And then hopefully around this time, I'm also hoping to be able to get to an Oasis show. Like I say, if I can... Okay, I better go. We're up to almost an hour. Well, I'm not going to go yet. Don't log off yet. I've got to pack half an hour's worth of stuff into the next 7 minutes. The point is in Blackbush. So Greenwich Dunes, absolutely stunning. Last time Pam and I went there was actually in November when we went on that trip with the Buick electric car to Misa for a magazine article. It took us about 10 hours to get back, so we had to keep charging. We went to the dunes and almost literally got swept away by the wind, couldn't breathe, and now we went back and got to see them. Absolutely beautiful. Went to Cavendish, saw them setting up the Cavendish Beach Festival. Obviously, Shania Twain made a big... I went to the PEI Brewing Company, which I'd never been to before. My friend Al Douglas had told me about it many times. Went there, had the most beautiful pint. Proper British pint of lager, mate. It was proper. Bosh, I said when my kids were loving watching me enjoy this pint. We biked there, and what's it called? Beach Chair Lager, made by the amazing Murphy Gahan crew. That night we watched National Lampoon's Vacation, the original, the classic. So interesting watching it now. It literally one of the first movies I ever saw. The artwork, seeing the artwork on the VHS video in the video store when I was a kid is one of the first video artworks I ever saw. It's possibly the thing that got me interested in comedy and videos. And then watching the movie again, it's weird how dark it is. Drugs, incest, pornography. They kill a dog. The family we're supposed to sympathize with kill a dog. You literally can't do that. Now, in a movie, someone kills a dog. John Wick has an excuse to go and kill 1 million people for it, and rightly so. You know, I love dogs. But holy smokes, that is like they put an old woman on the roof. It is, at the end, he's essentially a homegrown terrorist. But all of that said, that's quite edgy. Brilliant. I'm sure you know this. That Vacation film script stemmed from an article that someone, was it John Landis or Harold Ramis or someone wrote for the National Lampoon magazine about a family holiday. But what a brilliant piece of writing that, again, at the time, didn't get great reviews. I think it was a box office success. Went to the Anne of Green Gables store. Oh, I should point out, while I was on PEI, I was managing to, in addition to writing and finishing my book, I was reading close to a book a day. I read a book. Where is it? Oh, sugar. Where have I moved it to? Balderdash. Oh, this is it. Wait here. Well, where are you going? Well, don't go anywhere. This is so weird, right? You know how the universe works in mysterious ways. We are leaving to drive to Prince Edward Island. And I guess my point is I've been to PEI over 50 times, done shows all over. But generally when I go there, I go and do a corporate somewhere, maybe the Rod at Charlottetown, whatever, the Delta, or I'm going to do a show in one of those beautiful little theatres, the King's Playhouse in Georgetown, or whatever. I go there, I do the gig, I leave. This was the first time I feel like I've done PEI. Although I will say that 20 plus years ago, when my wife and I were dating before we married, we actually went to PEI with her parents and stayed somewhere, but we can't figure out where it was. Anyway, as I'm leaving, we're driving down the drive to PEI, and I go in the mailbox, and the Sutherland House book publishers in Toronto have sent me a book to review. And would you believe it? It's called Looking for Anne of Green Gables, Lucy Maud Montgomery and Her Timeless Heroine by Irene Gamble. Now, is that not crazy to the timing? We're driving to PEI, this book suddenly arrives. It is. I have not read 1 million books, and there are 1 million out there, trust me, and you will know this if you drive around the gift shops of Cavendish. 1 million books about Lucy Maud Montgomery, about the creation of and the legacy of Anne of Green Gables. This book is utterly definitive and full of revelations. Here we are, like 100 plus years later. So fascinating reading about Lucy Maud's creative process, how Anne was created. She does research, discovers the visual representation of Anne, the inspiration that Lucy Maud, the identity of the person. It is truly so. I mean, it's going to be reviewed in the next volume of the Maritime Edit. I basically had the most amazing, immersive Anne of Green Gables experience. And some of you remember the Netflix and CBC TV series Anne with an E that was produced and directed by Moira, who was one of the, actually the producer, a producer and writer on Breaking Bad, and actually won an Emmy for the best ever episode of Breaking Bad, which was the third to last one, which I believe was called Ozymandias or something. I can't pronounce it. Doesn't matter. And we, for the mag, we visited the set of Anne with an E, and inexplicably the show was cancelled. And there was, anyway, what's my point? I got to drive around PEI, I went to, obviously went to Green Gables house, went to the museum, bought a beautiful edition of Anne of Green Gables that the museum have produced, that is actually signed by, it has the original cover art and the original layout inside. As many of you know, it was published in 1908. The original Anne of Green Gables, it sold over 15 million copies. It is actually signed by a member of Anne's family, I presume somewhat now distant cousin. But I reread Anne of Green Gables as well. And I'm blown away by this incredible, like the fact that someone wrote this thing all those years ago that touched so many people at the time, continues to touch people today, has turned an entire industry into a just a tourism mecca. And I think and know that and again, PEI is very good at this. Obviously, Newfoundland has come from away. PEI also now has Telltale Harbour with Alan Doyle. Someone needs to create the New Brunswick equivalent that turns New Brunswick into a global tourist destination. and I've got the answer, and I'm working on it. To be honest, I say work. I'm trying, do my best. I also read Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune, who's also something of a PEI hero, because her other book, which was called Not This Summer, or perhaps Not This Summer, or Don't Do This to Me This. No, that doesn't sound right. Don't do that to me this summer. What's it called? Not this time again. Don't bang me. No. Okay, it's not this. Anyway, my friend Nat Hat lent it to me. This was actually in the 2024 selection of Canada Reads. Meet Me at the Lake. This one's actually set in Muskoka. Absolutely beautiful. Full of very. She's a number one New York Times bestselling author. They're romance books, but they're elevated romance books. They're funny. They're beautiful. They're sweet. Just absolutely oozing with just like summertime. When you're sitting on the beach reading it, it's gorgeous. My wife actually read a Colleen Hoover book that I believe she's lent to her friend Stephanie right now. And it is called, what's it called? Oh, Balderdash. It's bloody brilliant because it's got ferry boats in it and I love it. I remember it's got maybe something Heart Bones. That might be it. Anyway, okay. Oh, we went to the Sandspit Amusement Park in Cavendish. We've been there. They've got the Waltzer, which is my favourite fairground ride of history. It's funny, my kids can do any roller coaster, but they're scared of the Waltzer. They think it makes them feel sick. I love the Waltzer. I'm scared of roller coasters. Although I did manage to do the Cyclone at Salt Spit, which is quite terrifying because it is about 100 years old and feels about 100 years old. But it's about my kind of roller coaster, like short, doesn't go too high. Basically, I'm a wimp. We did my favourite thing in the entire universe, Crazy Golf. Well done, Hunter, who won. Although I did get a hole-in-one, which I'm not saying it's a fluke because I am absolutely terrible. Clearly, I planned it. We also watched European Vacation and we watched Christmas Vacation. It is so interesting watching how the kids obviously change actors, but completely change ages. It's interesting how Christmas Vacation is really not a plot; it's just a series of sketches. European Vacation is weird in its bigotry, and also like its datedness. And also at the time it got terrible reviews, but I loved it then and I love it now. And you're sitting there and there's, all of us, like I say, 11-year-old, 14-year-old, 47-year-old, 50-year-old, all just laughing our backsides off. I mean, him going round and round in circles at the roundabout by House of Parliament, kids, or Big Ben. Obviously, my parents actually, I don't know if you know, live near Salisbury, where Stonehenge is. When they knock Stonehenge over, of course, it's highly. Anyway, great tip for Blackbush, by the way, is the Finfolk Food Restaurant. We went in there. It's the restaurant the owner, Tim Banks, I believe it's his nephew runs the restaurant. One of the best lobster rolls I've ever had. So the three best lobster roll places on PEI: Finfolk Food, Dave's Lobster at like the food park in Cavendish, by where the Cavendish Music Festival is. There's Boom Burger as well, by the way, which is in an old church where the church used to be. And what's my point? Yes, went into Finfolk Food on a Monday night. Amazing musician playing. It's absolutely packed in there, but they find you a table. And I've never been in a place where. Also, my wife's celiac, gluten free. They do her tacos, gluten free, phenomenal. Real attention to detail. Absolutely beautiful pint. Tastes like a beautiful British pint, mate. Proper British pint, a proper lager, of which there is much being consumed at the Oasis concerts, not so much being consumed at the Coldplay concert, I will point out. My wife and I were looking at not a single person around us drinking, which is quite pleasant. And at one point during the show, actually, Chris Martin said, "Oh my goodness, there's a smell of weed," which is interesting. Someone obviously down the front obviously decided to spark up a doobie, as a grandparent would have said in the 1970s. But there wasn't really a smell of weed around. Like, again, it's just a very, it's kind of a church crowd. It's civilized crowd. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's what I've been up to. Those are the books I've read. I'm also reading a book that my friends Adam and Jess. By the way, happy birthday to Adam Newhouse this week. Hope you had a wonderful day, my friend. For my birthday in March, this beautiful family very kindly bought me a book called Codename Pale Horse: How I Went Undercover to Expose America's Nazis. A great book written by an undercover cop by the name of Scott Payne, with a Canadian journalist by the name of Michelle Shepherd. It's about I love undercover. How does someone do that? Like, go undercover you've got to basically you've got to like live a life for 6 months building trust, and then gain the trust of these people, and then become friends with them, and then like them more than everyone else that you actually work with, and then have to kind of lock them all up forever, and then have a target on the back for the rest of your life. Who knows? Anyway. Other things I've watched, I worked really well. I told How to Have Sex on Crave. Molly Manning Walker is the director. Phenomenal film about a group of 3 girls going to Malia in Crete for one of those classic British holidays. If you want to see what I'm talking about with Brits going on holiday and how we booze it up, watch this movie, because I think some of you think I'm exaggerating this whole thing. How to Have Sex. Watch it. I should point out it has very disturbing plot line. I don't think I'm spoiling it by saying, well, let's just say that it is about the issue of consent, the theme of consent, I should say. So please bear that in mind when watching it. I don't want anyone to be upset. We went to the cinema to see The Materialists, which is, of course, it's the movie by, we're doing an Elbows Up. We wanted to go to the cinema. We weren't going to see any of the American movies. We wanted to go, even though it's an American production, but it's directed by Celine Song, who was born in South Korea, but is Canadian. She was born in 1988, 10 years younger than me, and unbelievable. Like, I think her first play that she directed was it Chekhov's The Seagull? I don't know, but it was basically about the year 2020, and then COVID hit, and then she wrote and directed Past Lives, which was nominated for every Oscar going. Past Lives, very beautiful film, a bit, very great, but at the end, some very artistic, but one of those Oscar movies when you're like, okay, well, yeah, could be watching Crank with Jason Statham right now, but all right, but it's great. This movie, Wanted to Love It. Dakota Johnson can we be, I do like Dakota Johnson, but I think we can agree she's not the most likable person ever. Well, maybe she's a great actress, plays characters that aren't. Chris Evans is supposed to play kind of an unattractive out-of-work actor, not very convincing. Pedro Pascal is supposed to play a charming billionaire. He's apparently, by all accounts, very handsome man. Doesn't really bring it. It's quite weird how it does. It's weird. People get saying what terrible reviews it's had, but it's got 80% of Rotten Tomatoes, which goes to say the problem with the Rotten Tomatoes is working out the averages. When I talk like that, is it too fast? I think it might be. I think in conversation it would feel fast. I've just got a text message from my friend Chuck Thompson. What's he saying? Oh. He was my dear friend, one of my oldest friends. Actually, certainly one of my wife's oldest friends. But he and I met in the year 2000 and been so close ever since. Chris Martin, and oh yes, well I knew this, that midway through their 4-night residency at the Rogers Centre, they dined at. Oh no way! Oh, that's so funny. Shinan Gavani is a friend of mine who reports on. He was basically the it guy in Toronto, for writing columns, just like the ultimate influencer before influencers were a thing. When it was basically being a social columnist journalist. Shinan Gavani spotted them Coldplay dining at Osteria Gouala in Yorkville, which is so interesting because we were supposed to dine there. But opted for Salto Salto instead. Okay, this podcast was brought to you by the Lighting Lounge. Go and see Serge and Tiffany. As I mentioned, it's where the old lighting shop used to be. We're going to be dropping some videos and sketches that we're going to be filming there. The showroom is open to the general public. It has never looked more majestic in there. Please go and visit them. Check out thelightinglounge.ca. Follow them on socials. The links are all below. Really, it is interior lighting is one of the most important things in your interior design, and I know that because I'm sitting in a very dark loft because the lights don't work. There you go, Lighting Lounge. If anyone needs the Lighting Lounge, it's me. Lady Catherine. I just want to say, Lady Catherine is one of our wonderful listeners from America. And she is currently in sunny Florida. And when I used to think about you in sunny Florida, it used to make me wish I was there. But luckily now we have sun here at Tooele, New Brunswick, and I'm so happy that you are visiting here. Maybe Lady Catherine doesn't want me sharing her private things. Anyway, I will finally get to meet Lady Catherine in person at one of the shows I'm playing in the next few weeks. So I cannot wait to see you. I was supposed to talk about the what's her name? Katie Taylor and Serrano fight. there's a lot of fights this weekend, actually. It's Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. Usyk, of course, beat Tyson Fury twice. Tyson is still trying to get the third fight. If the money's right, greedy bastard wants under 150 million to get beaten down again. I'm so excited about this fight on Saturday, although I will be on vacation, so I'm going to try and find a way to watch it secretly. Skip and Kathy Rogerson, if you're listening, they are the famous boat couple from Ethan Ash's experience last. By the way, I think I can share this with you all. Ethan Ash and I have written, or I say, Ethan has written an amazing new song that we will be debuting next week. You'll still get the New Brunswick song, you'll still get Breakfast, you'll still get all these other amazing songs. But brand new song, very filthy, very funny. I hope to see you all there. But I will say this, I'm excited for this fight, but there's a lot of, obviously, UFC right now. There's a lot of boxing right now. There's a lot of sports events. Anyone else getting a bit sick of being told by social media posts / ads, in 3 days, history will be made? I mean, it's two people belting each other in a ring. I think it's epic and iconic. I love it. Can we stop saying history is made? History is being made in the world. It's not even a good thing, history being made. History is being made right now on the world stage in front of our very eyes in a very disturbing way. Let's just say, in not 3 days, history is going to be made. In 3 days, two geezers or two birds are going to get in the ring and beat shit out of each other. It's going to be bloody entertaining. One's going to be the champion and then fail to ever live up to that hype ever again in their lives, and will forever muse the fact that they used to be the champ. And the other one will spend the rest of their lives miserable that they never were the champ, because ultimately none of us are happy, and we never will be. on that positive note of I've been Mel Robbins, and this is the let them feel miserable. Let us feel bloody miserable, Mel. That's life. Although I will quote another wonderful line from Pierre's. And I just call him Pierre, so I don't mess up his name again. Diagnosis. His autism diagnosis was an official reason to be kinder to himself, and that's really quite beautiful. And I would say that is a wonderful way to describe getting yourself diagnosed. Okay, I'm going to go. I'll be back next week. Please send me your questions for next week. I think I've done millions of other things, which I can't. Had a great meeting today with Tony Delgado, the maestro Delgado. Great up-and-coming project with the St. John Regional Hospital Foundation. Great meeting with the incredible, one of the most prolific authors in this country, Leslie Choice. I also did watch the end of the last show, Go with Pamela Anderson. That's great. By the way, if you're looking for a TV show recommendation, may I highly recommend, if you like dark humor, Such Brave Girls on Crave. It's a BBC sitcom. Second season's just landed. Oh my goodness, it is dark. It is, imagine Curb Your Enthusiasm crossed with Fleabag, crossed with some of the Anthony Jeselnik and Jimmy Carr, Nikki Glazer humor. You're halfway there. I hate people that do what I just did. It's this crossed with this. I had such a lovely chat with my dear friend Misha Brugger-Gossman Lee last week, and Ryan Williams. Actually, so many fun projects coming up, and Rob Belston actually about the BC shows, and Jake Hirsch, who is the brains behind the Cochrane Comedy Festival. If you know anyone in Cochrane, Alberta, please let me know. That's it. I've been James Manager. This has been Manager's Weekly Ramble. I'll be back here in 2 weeks. This podcast is brought to you by the Lighting Lounge. Before I go, here is some. I've been a bit Debbie Downer some of this, right? I'm feeling a happy man, but I'm just trying to be open and honest with you about the thoughts that sometimes enter my head in the middle of the night / 24/7. So here's one for you. Imagine reading a book with no way to turn back the page. How carefully would you read that? Well, that's life. Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. So you can have that one, Chris Martin. That's a good one. Imagine reading a book with no way to turn back the page. Just think how carefully you would read it. Well, that is life. So enjoy it all. The future belongs to the consistent, not the talented, not the lucky, but the one who shows up, even when it's hard. Show up. Effort never betrays you. That sounds like something my dear friend Nancy Reagan may have said. By the way, the episode of her TV show that I appear in will be landing soon. The future belongs to the consistent, not the talented, not the lucky, but the one who shows up even when it's hard. Show up. Effort never betrays you. That's basically sums up me. A jack of many trades, master of none. The future. I'm consistent. That would be a nice review, I think, because no one would call me talented. No one would call me lucky, but I do show up, and it is hard. Oi, oi. So show up, yeah, consistent. That'd be a good word for my gravestone. But bear this in mind: if ever these podcasts are dredged up when you're trying to figure out what to do with me after I drop dead, consistent. What's that? Who is it? Spike Milligan, or what comedian was it that had on their gravestone? I told you I was sick. That is brilliant, and they actually did that. Who was it? Was it Tommy Cooper? I told you I wasn't feeling well. That's written on his gravestone. Brilliant. Consistent. James Mullinger, born 1978, dead hopefully in a long bloody time. Choose a new way, a new perspective, new way of looking at things. So when you, rather than think, why is this happening to me? Change that to, what is this teaching me? I'm scared to fail. Failure is not the opposite of success. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to read this one because all the spellings are wrong. So it means that, okay, here's a quote. Okay, here we go. Is this the final one? Well, be kind. Everyone is still healing from things they don't speak about. That is true, although some people are wankers. Again, the Mel Robbins Let Them podcast. Let them be wankers. That should be the name of the sequel. I wonder if I could call a book. You know how after that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F Word, all those other books came out with the F word in the title. Could you do that? Could you use Let Them Be Wankers by James Mullinger, a self-help book. You can seem like a millionaire to one person and a homeless person to the next. I don't really like the tone of that, to be honest, but because it's quite insulting so far. Insulting to the homeless person, I feel. You can seem like a millionaire to one person and a homeless person to the next. The ants think you're a giant and the trees don't even notice you. You think you have a boring life, but the next person might be striving for your lifestyle. Comparison is the thief of joy, so stay kind and keep loving life. Life is all just a big game of perspective. I do agree with that line. Comparison is the thief of joy, and stay kind and keep loving life is clearly something Chris Martin would like to use during a show. So I love you all, and I genuinely mean that. I don't love everyone who's ever written anything ever on the internet, because that's overdoing it, Chris. But I love you, Chris Martin, even if I don't love your dress sense, but I love your music, and I think you are a jolly nice fellow, and I think everyone listening to this podcast is a jolly nice person, because quite frankly, anyone that is willing to listen to someone as disturbed as me for this long is a very, very kind person. So think this as your good deed for the week. This was Mullinger's Weekly Ramble, number 61, brought to you by The Lighting Lounge. Thanks for listening. Love you very much. Email me any questions. I'll just give you my personal email. If you've come this long, we're friends. jamesmullinger@gmail.com. Thank you, Ramblers. Bosh, over and out.